join me in giving a very warm welcome to Mr. Ron Dunn. Ron?
Thank you, guys, and good morning. So somebody asked if I was wearing this green shirt because we're talking about money this morning, and actually it was white when I left the house, but the pollen got to me and I was walking the door, so here we go, right? So money is fun. Money will put a smile on your face. Money can make you happy, and money's miserable. And it'll put stress lines on your forehead. It's number one reason for arguments in marriage. Number one reason for divorce is money problems, right? Money's weird. If it was a person, you'd say money's bipolar. So what is it? What are the people who say money is fun and makes them happy and they're smiling, what do they know that the people who are miserable don't know? And you might say it's not what they know, it's what they have. The people who are smiling have money, right? But we know that's not the case because there's plenty of people that have money that are miserable, stressed, depressed, and there are people that don't have a lot of money that are happy, share the happiness, smiling, and use it well. So what is it? Why is it that some people can start with nothing and end up with a whole lot? And some people can start with a whole lot and end with nothing. And some people can start with nothing and end with nothing, right? And some people can start with a whole lot and still end up with a whole lot. What is the deal with money? Are there some principles for financial fitness that we need to know to help us understand how to manage our affairs, how to manage our money, how to steward what we have? And of course, the answer to that is yes, and we'll no better place than the wisest person of all time, who became the richest person of all time, who God decided to use as a spokesperson for wisdom, to give insights. And Solomon had a lot to say about money. So what we're going to do is Solomon's going to be our main spokesperson this morning, okay? Because he hits it from a lot of different angles, and it depends upon how you count it. We're going to look at 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 different principles on really what's the right way to manage money. How can we have financial fitness? So to start with, take out your Going Deeper card. And we're going to look first at Isaiah and then at what Jesus had to say. So in Isaiah, he's quoting God, and he says, the Lord says, these people come near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Here's the thing with finance. Here's the thing with money. The main problem with money is the same problem that is with anything else. It has to do with our behavior. It's the same challenge. And the question that God wants to know is, where's your heart? So many people come to God with their mind, but their heart is far from them. We've said in here many times, the farthest distance on this planet is the 18 inches from our mind to our heart. So our goal at one thing is to look at issues and say, what's the heart of this? And where am I at? And do I have heart knowledge of God and heart knowledge of the things that he talked about? So our main goal this morning is to understand from a heart's perspective how we're supposed to view finance. Jesus says this, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth and rust do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be also. So the question we have to ask is, what's our treasure? What's our treasure and where is our heart? Are we tied up temporally, or are we really connected and believe that, yes, an afterlife is for sure there? We are going to be a part of it, and that's how we live our life. That's how we manage our affairs in light of what's to come. So Solomon has a lot to say, but before we get to Solomon, one more look, pull out going deeper. Let's look at what Paul says about money. But those who want to get rich fall into temptation. Look at the next verse down. For the love of money is the root of all sorts of evil. Look at the next verse down. Keep your lives free from the love of money. Where did Paul get this insight from? Well, we know he studied Solomon. He memorized Proverbs. That was part of who he was and what he did. part of him being a Pharisee before his conversion. And so Solomon says this as the number one. If there's the number one financial fitness principle, it's this: don't make wealth your goal. Do not weary yourself to gain wealth. He who loves money will not be satisfied with money. This too is vanity, vapor. It's going to disappear. The more you have, the more people come to help you spend it. So what good is wealth except perhaps to watch it slip through your fingers? So principle number one is don't make money your goal. There's a big difference, isn't there? If you have a company or if you go for a job, you say, why do you find this company? To make money. Now, isn't that inspiring? Doesn't that just want to make you back that company? Successful companies as a whole, I mean, if you look at their mission statements, it's an interesting thing studying mission statements. Ritz-Carlton as an example. Ladies and gentlemen, here to serve ladies and gentlemen. Companies that are inspiring are there to serve. They have a purpose to serve. Money becomes a byproduct. As you pick your career, it should be there because it matches your passion and your gift skill. The money you get paid is a byproduct. If we're working for money, we're missing Solomon's number one principle. Don't make wealth your goal. So what should our goal be? We talked about it in week one of this series. Glorify God, serve others, fulfill your purpose. That's what our goal should be, not money. Money's the byproduct. All right, let's look at principle number two. Be freed from greed. What's greed? How would you define greed? Obsessed with the accumulation of possession. Greed, for lack of the better word, is bad. Despite what the world wants to tell us. Greed's like a cancer. When greed creeps in, what we are intended and created by God to be is destroyed. And instead of giving and serving and glorifying, we're taking and thinking about ourselves. Here's what Solomon says: the greedy bring ruin into their households. Greedy people try to get rich quick. It doesn't work. There's another serious problem I've seen under the sun. Hoarding riches harms the saver. Greed is something, guys, we have to take care of. It's one of our enemy's great ways of destroying a man. Pride and greed, making life about ourselves. Be freed from greed. Greed, it will lead you to number three, which is avoid debt. So here's what Solomon says there. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. Anybody feel that? It's so inviting on the front end, right? Here's a credit card. Have our credit card. We'll open you up with a nice credit line. And then you can't pay your bill, and they extend your credit line before you know who is running who. Debt can easily start running us, and we can't serve two masters. So if we get ourselves in a debt situation where we can't keep up, it definitely makes light go tilt. Now we're the person who says money is miserable. Money is stressing me. Money is depressing me. Why? Because we allowed ourselves to get into debt. One of the principles that Solomon has is to act your wage. Spend less than you make. It's a very simple principle, but if you're not doing that, you got to recalibrate back in. For some, plastic surgery is necessary, right? Take the plastic and cut it in half. Debit cards are not bad. You can only spend it if you have it. Credit cards are horrible. You know, convenience stores who rely. Why did gas stations take off with convenience stores? You know when they did that? When credit cards became more common. When people were paying with cash, there was no need to have all kinds of snacks, which is what a convenience store really is, a bunch of stuff we really don't need. But when credit cards came in, people walking, oh, I'll take that, I'll take that, I'll take that. It's like Rodney Dangerfield, one of these, two of those, five of those, I'll take, you know. And that's how we end up doing it, because it doesn't feel like we're separating money. If you have a problem with a credit card or somebody in your family does, let me recommend this to you. Change for 1 month. Just say, no credit card, cash only. And have them walk around with cash in their hand and see what that does to their spending. Because I'll tell you what, if you walk around with a $50 bill or a $100 bill, and then you see that and go, I think I might want that. And you go and you take this, now I have this cash depart from you, suddenly you might say, you know, I don't really need that. And you put it back, where plastic is no exchange whatsoever. So, very simple principle. Don't allow debt to creep in. Live your wage. Stay within what you make. Here's what Solomon says. The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp down. Fools gulp down. We live in a consumer age. Consume is not necessarily a good word, right? But in our industry, we're always talking about what does the consumer want? Understand the consumer, because we all consume. You know, in Hebrews, it talks about a cloud of witnesses, that we have a cloud of witnesses looking down. I've always often wondered, who is that exactly? Okay, we got the Trinity, we've got angels, some of the patriarchs. Who's all looking down at us? But when it comes to how we manage our finances, I believe God is saying that this is one of my wise children. This is one of my wise. They're managing it well. They're living within their means. They're saving. This is one of my foolish kids. I was going to say dumb kids, and my wife said, don't say that. Because it really is foolish. This is one of my foolish kids. They consume it all down. Living paycheck to paycheck. Whatever they get, they're taking in. Is that a sin? I don't know. God says it's foolish. Solomon says it's foolish. Don't live like that. The wise store up choice food and olive oil. Save a little bit for a rainy day. Why? That's what my grandma used to always say. Save for a rainy day. Say why? Why? Because it's going to rain, right? There's a big difference when it rains, when something happens, your car breaks down, your lawnmower breaks down, the water heater goes out, the washer goes down, you need a new roof on your house. There's a big difference when that hits, when you saved for that, knowing it's going to come. No problem. I got the money. I can take care of that. Let's call somebody, get it out. Let's get some bids and get them taken care of. Versus you're living, consuming constantly, and now it hits and you go, oh my God, how am I going to take care of this? It's like, I don't have the money for this. How can I? Who wants to live life like that? And we don't have to live life like that if we follow simple principles. Live within means. Save. Save for these days. Don't push beyond. Do we live like this? Do we teach our kids this? 4 things. This is interesting from Solomon. 4 things are small on the earth, but they are exceedingly wise. Ants. They aren't strong, but they store up food all summer. Hyraxes. I looked up what that is. It's a little animal that looks like probably a junior squirrel, but doesn't have a tail. No way of defending itself. They're popular in Africa and Asia, according to what I read. They aren't powerful, but they make their home among the rocks. They figure out how to live within their environment. Locusts. They have no king, but they march in formation. Systems. Systems are important in life, right? Do we have a system? Financial system. Lizards. They are easy to catch, but they are found even in the king's palaces. They know how to get around. They still enjoy nice places. A lizard. Call me a lizard. It's a compliment. I come to Cabernet when our suppliers pay for it. Interesting observation by Solomon. Okay, last one. Only someone with no sense would promise to be responsible for someone else's debts. Are you considering co-signing for someone? Solomon says only someone with no sense would do that. Don't make yourself responsible for somebody else's debt. All right, principle number 4. Work hard and work smart. People who work hard sleep well. Again, go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gather its food at the harvest. It's like the ant just knows. Doesn't need someone to tell him what to do. Just does it, just knows it. The same type of thing that God puts inside of us if we pay attention to it. Be wise, work hard, save. There are three things that walk with stately stride. No, four that strut about. The lion, the king of all animals, who won't turn aside for anything. The strutting rooster, the male goat, a king as he leads his army. What is Solomon saying? Be like that. Be like the lion who won't turn aside for anything. Be like that rooster. Be like the male goat. How so? Be like a king who's leading his army. What he's saying is when it comes to work, get your stride back. Walk on your toes. Don't let anything turn you aside. Be passionate in what you do. What is it that you do? Be the best at it. Striding and strutting's a good thing when you know what you're working for and who you're working for. Be a man. Be a man that people want to look up to and look after and be like, because you got it going on. Interesting. Work hard, but work smart. Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. All right. Financial fitness number 5. Keep a balance. Taking some time for R&R. Too much activity gives you restless dreams. So, again, Solomon gives these little junior stories for us to think about, right? Consider these 5 animals. Consider these 4. Here's what he says. Even so, I've noticed one thing at least that is good. It's good for people to eat, drink, and enjoy their work under the sun during the short life God has given them, and to accept their lot in life. And it is a good thing to receive wealth from God and the good health to enjoy it. To enjoy your work and accept your lot in life, this is indeed a gift from God. God keeps such people so busy enjoying life that they have no time to brood over the past. Wait a minute, what was that? To enjoy your work, accept your lot in life, this is indeed a gift from God. God keeps such people so busy enjoying life that they have no time to brood over their past. Brooding over our past can be one of those things that keep us from strutting, right? That keep us from living life the way we should live. Our enemy is an accuser of the brethren. He wakes up every day to take you down. And part of the reason he'll do that is have you look in the rearview mirror and concentrate on what's been behind, things you cannot change, except to repent, learn from, and move on, and teach other people around you, and be an example for your family, and be an inspiration for those around, and understand that God does forgive and God does redeem. That's his story. And so whatever you're at, wherever you're at, he can redeem you, he can change, but take on principles. Be wise, learn them, live that. And then enjoy your work and enjoy what you do. That, he says, is a gift from God. And then you won't have time to brood about the past because you're enjoying today. There's a life that he calls us for. Understanding, hey, yeah, life has its turns. The guy who accepted our Retailer of the Year this year, he got up and he made a really cool speech afterwards. He said, here's a lesson I learned in life. The turn in the road is not the end of the road unless you forget to turn. Life has turns in the road. So sometimes we got to turn with them, right? You might be in one of those turns right now. Maybe you need an encouraging word. Hopefully in some way this morning will be that as we look at wisdom from Solomon and how to put our life back together and how to view some of this stuff. Who got trained on finances growing up? I didn't. It was kind of like observe and fend for yourself, right? It's like, why aren't these principles taught more? I'm not sure. But I read them and they sure resonate as true and they help sharpen me. So let's look at number 6. Know the value of advice. Never stop learning. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. The way of fools seems right to them. We can talk ourselves into anything. And for some reason, finance is sometimes the most private thing that we make decisions on, right? We will, in our own little corner or our own little quietness of our mind, make decisions on this and this and this, but we don't know who to trust. We don't know who to let in. There are financial advisors. There's some in this room, but those guys are like, keep them at bay. I don't want them to know my finance, right? When really, if you understand them right, they're there to help you, and they're there to give advice. And friends are there to give advice. Yes, be smart in who you choose, but guys, every one of us should have personal advisors in our life. And when it comes to finance, yes, you should have a personal advisor in your life. Somebody who looks in and says, maybe you should consider this. Do you know that this is available to do? Do you know that if you do some little things over here and over time, this is what this will mean for you? Why not educate ourselves like that? And then take a look at when that will make sense in your life. Here's some way of cleaning some things up. When I make a financial decision, my wife and I made this agreement between ourselves. We're going to seek advice from 3 people before we decide. Anything over a given amount. For us, it's $5,000. If anything, we make a decision over $5,000, we're bringing 3 people in to talk about it. What do you think about this? Think it's wise for us to do this? Here's our thinking on it. It's amazing. Sometimes there's cause for pause. And then sometimes we just feel a whole lot better because we're doing it. Advice is there for us. All right. Let's go down to number 7. Do we get giving? This is probably, if above everything else, this is what puts a smile on your face with money. When we finally can get to a place where we understand the dynamics of giving, that's what helps put a smile on our face with money. That's what helps us have fun with money. If you haven't yet ever done this, go ahead and Google Dave Ramsey and watch his 5 principles for financial success. 5 biblical principles for financial success. The one that I enjoyed the most was he talks about how him and his wife, now he went bankrupt and he had to work his way back out. And he said, today people said, so you made $1 million early and you lost it all. And now you're back to being multi-million. How did you bounce back? And he said, when you fall that far, you don't bounce. It's a splat. And then you have disciplines that you have to put in. But as he shares at the end, he said, the thing that we enjoy most, and only people with money can do this, is my wife and I will have dates, and here's what a date will look like. We have a little bit of extra cash that we want to give. And I believe in unconventional giving. We just did our taxes, and my wife and I looked at how much was given that we can't write off because you can't write it off. It's certain things when you give, in different ways. But I encourage you to make unconventional giving part of the way you give. Here's Dave Ramsey's example. He does it over and over. They'll go to different Waffle Houses. And what him and his wife discovered is that at Waffle House, you will find a waitress in need. And so he said, here's an example. We prayed. We went to Waffle House. Here comes a little young pregnant girl. And he said, my wife and I just looked at each other and smiled and said, if you're pregnant and you're working at Waffle House, you need the money. You have to work. And a little extra money is going to make a huge deal. And then he said, we ate, we talked with her, we asked her about her life a little bit. Before we left, we put $400 on the table and we walked out. He said, we had so much fun just imagining what it was like for her to find that and what that was going to do for her. He said, when I had tons of money, didn't get this, I never had so much money spending money as I did just putting that $400 down. And so they make that event over and over again. Do you do stuff like that? Do we look for places to give and have fun giving. Because giving puts a satisfaction inside of us. That's what God intended us to be, not a conduit where we just take it all in. We're blessed to be a blessing. And so do we get that kind of a giving? God loves a cheerful giver. Give it all you got. So what does that mean for you? Are you a cheerful giver? Are you stuck in this rut where it's like, here comes, okay, it's church, everybody looking, I got to put this in, everybody knows I'm giving it, somebody in this church even knows what I'm giving, so it's okay, right? What a horrible way to give. Certainly support your church, but don't park it all there. Don't just stop there. Give and give beyond. Pick out people that need help. God's got all kinds of people around you that need help. Help them. That'll put a smile on your face. All right. Go back to your key verse card. Number 8 principle is the bottom verse right there. Ecclesiastes 11, verse 1 and 2. Solomon says, keep your grain across the sea. After many days you may receive a return. Invest in 7 ventures. Yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. Invest. Invest wisely. Diversify. This was strange to me. When I grew up in the coolest neighborhood. It was like a Norman Rockwell. 4 blocks wide, 2 blocks deep. Everybody was Catholic or Lutheran, Italian, Irish, or German. All the kids hung out at the playground. All the dads were blue collar. But it was a neighborhood where people started poor and ended poor. And so I didn't understand principles of finance. And then when I started getting into business, I started observing people and I realized, wow, they're not working for money. They're putting money to work for them. What a different dynamic. How do we do that? Solomon says, do it and diversify. Do you know the biggest thing that we did for our stores during this recession that we hit, and the housing recession hit our industry hard? Half our business went away. Our industry's business went away. The biggest thing that we did to help our stores was teach them how to diversify. Take your customer that's coming in the store and sell them more product. Don't just sell that all types of flooring. Add countertops, add window treatments. You're in their home. What else can you do for them? Cabinets. So we took small businesses and we helped them diversify. We also helped them diversify their focus, not just retail business, because when retail goes down, commercial usually is good. Not just commercial business, because commercial goes down, retail is usually good. So have a balance and diversify. That same principle in business is true for us personally. And yeah, God gives us a stewardship. And so there's parables about the guy who just buries it and doesn't do anything with it. And God I'm taking it away from you. And the people who took 5 and made it into 10. So what does that look like for you? How are you stewarding the funds that he gave you? How do you help them grow so that you can be blessed, but also be a blessing for other people? Money is an interesting thing to talk about. Are there principles? Are there financial fitness principles? Yeah, there are. There definitely are. Here they are. Don't make wealth your goal. Be freed from greed. Avoid debt. Act your wage. Save something. Work hard. Work smart. Rest and relax and enjoy. Know the value of advice. Never stop learning. Get giving. Understand what it is. Enjoy it. Diversify. Solomon gives us some great advice. We got a bunch to talk about, so let's go to the tables.
So what did you talk about at the table? What are some of the principles of Solomon that stood out? A principle of Solomon that stood out to you this morning. Anybody? Act your wage? Yeah, not everybody does that, right? You know, I'll tell you, I'll share with you what, as I was doing this study, what hit me. You know, I was trying to think where, when I grew up, my dad was, blue collar, he worked construction. And so I have 6 brothers and sisters. So we had a full house, right? And so, but what I watched my dad, I think more is caught than it's ever taught. And what I watched my dad do was have such a giving heart to the needy, primarily the elder. And as a young kid, I would just watch how much care and how much time and how he went out of his way to help in any way he can, which is get some materials and do something for them, be practical or whatever. And that impacts, I think if you have grandkids watching, you have kids watching you, well, let them see that side of you and who you are. Here's a creative thing that happened to me this week. So I have a friend, Fred, who's my accountant. Met him when Ryan was about as tall as his chair. Back at that time, I was, I think, making $24,000 a year. We used to talk about if we could ever make 48 grand, we would have buckets of money everywhere. We know we would, right? And so we still laugh about that. And so this year he said to me, he goes, Ron, I finally figured out what I want to do with you in terms of what I charge you. There's years when he hasn't charged me anything. There's years when I get a little bill or whatever, just, for a little bit of his time. So he said, I'll tell you what. He goes, what I want you to do is just pick a charity and pay what you would have paid me. Pay what you think you would have paid an accountant. And just tell me who it is. Just tell me what you did. And here's somebody, if you don't mind considering it. I met this couple. They're missionaries in South Korea. They have an awesome heart. They have a great ministry going on. They need some help. If we consider them as part of it. We gave more than we would have paid for an accountant. But what a creative way for him to do that. So he's picking some of his closest friends, and that's what he's doing. So I'll tell you what, anybody that comes to me for friends and family discount on flooring, I'm just going to say to you, whatever you think you would have paid for this flooring, give it to somebody else, right? I mean, how can you do that in your own life? How can we just share that around? The key verse that I didn't mention that really hit me this week when I was doing this preparation, I think I said to the table leaders, I never would ever envision I would talk about money because I don't want to talk about money. But when you study Solomon, you have to talk about money because he talks about money and he's a great source and he's a voice for us from God's understanding of how to view this and how to put it into perspective. But Proverbs 19 verse 7 says, one who is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will repay his deed. Jesus says, when you give to the least of these, my brethren, you're given to me. Do we get that? I mean, do we really get that? Jesus said the poor are always going to be around us. So part of our responsibility to have a little bit is to take care of them. And do we see that? And do we seek that? And do we want to do? Is that part of our heart? Do we get giving as being just a fun, enjoyable part of who we are? God loves a cheerful giver. So that was my main takeaway.
One Thing for Men meets at Cabernet Steakhouse in Alpharetta, Georgia on Friday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. If you live in the Atlanta area or visit the area on Friday, we would love to have you join us in person. And if you have been blessed by this message, please consider supporting One Thing for Men online.